Hey, welcome back to Next Third Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, founder and the host, and I'm here with one of my favorite human beings, Stephanie Rounds. Stephanie, it's so great to have you.
I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, so Stephanie and her husband Daniel are dear friends, but Stephanie is a nutritionist. You're a trainer, a personal trainer. You have so much knowledge on so many different things, and I'm not sure where we're going to go with this, but one thing we want to do is Stephanie, I'm going to have Stephanie kind of navigate hypothetical guys out there. So we're going to do a 38-year-old guy, 48, 58, and a 68-year-old, right? Mm-hmm. And what I want us to do is I want you to, I'll create the scenario, and then you kind of go with it and say, how would you engage this guy at this stage of his life to get healthy, both physically,
Sure.
Emotionally, if you want, not only the whole thing. Ready?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Okay.
Yep.
So the first guy is a 38-year-old, right? 38-year-old guy. He probably has, let's say, a couple kids. They're young. He's building a career. He and his wife are stressed because you know how it is with little ones.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Sleep impaired, all
Right.
sorts of things. The guy's not terribly out of shape, but he's definitely under stress. And he's probably not working out like he should. He's certainly not eating as well as he should.
Sure.
So he's at that beginning. This is where it all starts, right?
Right.
To go downhill if we don't address it.
Right.
And I think that's one of the big things about Next Third Best Third is we want to equip guys to start early.
Right.
And not just guys, women too, but
Yeah.
to start early to invest in their future self.
Yeah.
So here we are, 38-year-old guy, under stress, couple little kids. Maybe his wife and him are both working, and it's just a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I can speak to me personally being a mom of 4, which we addressed before. And I'm, thank goodness, in that place where I have older kids who are able to help me with the younger kids. So that really tremendously helps. My husband's 5 years older than me. So around 38, we didn't. So this would actually be a pretty good scenario because when he was 38, I was 32, 33. So what happens is you start focusing on everything else and yourself, your everything about you, what the phrase is now self-care, right? That becomes second in your life. And so what I would do is first, I always take an initial intake of all people that I help, and I have them answer a couple of questions that has to do with lifestyle, that has to do with habits, that has to do with what you're already doing, and to see where the holes are, to be able to plug in, to see where can we add, where can we take away, where can we adjust, and whatever. Because at the end of the day, you really want to make it a lifestyle, not just a temporary change.
Absolutely. That's why we've talked before, you and I, about diets don't work. It's
diets
got to be a lifestyle thing. But what I love about you taking, documenting what you're taking in and everything, is that just ties so much into what we try to do here is saying an examined life is a life worth living. So you have to examine your life and then take honest appraisal before you can take the steps of intentionality to make a difference. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, because that's a key that you just said, intentionality. If there's no intentional movement, intentional ideas, anything behind it, if you're not putting your actual mind and everything about you forward in pursuing this thing that you're pursuing, whether it be health, wealth, well-being, overall, whatever it is, you're not going to succeed. It's going to be okay for the short term, but in the long term, there's either going to be injury, there's going to be burnout, there's going to be whatever. And of course, there's movements along the way that, I don't want to say movements, I want to say more moments along the way where you want to take and reassess where you're at and make adjustments accordingly.
Sure.
But going back to the gentleman who's about 38, men are in pretty good shape by then. Their testosterone levels are still really great. There are things that they can do to help keep that in balance because really your hormones are going to play a big portion of where you are in life anyway. Women, men, all of us. So I think about 35 is when things start going down. Yeah. And so that's when you really want to take a good look to see where you're at. Your emotional health plays a big part in that. Sleep, eating, all of it, exercise.
Absolutely, right.
So for him, what we would do is we would do the intake, and then I would do an initial physical, which I do with everybody. I have them do basic squat, lunge. I think I have them do bench press, like basic movements to see and assess where you at strength wise.
Yeah.
Balance is another one. I'm not really too worried about balance for a gentleman who's in his mid to late 30s. You're still pretty good on your feet unless you're really, really out of shape or
Right.
some other type of injury or illness or whatever that you're messing with. But generally speaking, 38-year-old, you're still pretty good in balance.
Right.
And then from there, I would ask what your goals are. Because if you don't have a goal set, or you don't have, whether it's just to be able to take a step, I'm trying to think for him. So if it's to build 2 more pounds of muscle in a month, okay, that's a really great measurable goal. If you don't have measurable goals, we're going to be floundering and figuring out where you want to go.
It's interesting because for me, now granted I'm in a different age, but
Sure.
for me, goals, measurable goals, setting these goals, I see the value, but for me, having more of a, like I read a book when about 16 years ago, it was called Younger Next Year. And that kind of goal resonated with me.
Yeah.
I just want to be better next year. I'll be younger next year. Because that way, if I was falling short, or if I had a couple of weeks where I didn't do anything, I didn't beat myself up.
Right.
Because it was a longer term thing, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me personally.
So that's actually a really good point to make. There are short-term and long-term goals. The short-term are measurable. And because if you say, like, for example, he's a little overweight, I want to lose 2 inches on my waist. Okay, that's a measurable goal. So, but I want to do it in 2 weeks. That's not realistic.
Okay.
And a lot of people that I've met, and even dealing with myself, we like to set unrealistic measurable goals because we see, again, in the media age that we are now, the digital age, this is where this person's at and they're the same age as me and they look like this and I don't look like this. And there's so many other things that play into there that we don't know about that person that we can't compare ourselves to. We're unique individuals. That's how we were made. So we can't take our story and turn it into somebody else's story.
I'm so glad you brought that up because a big thing that I always talk about is the danger of comparison, right? And we know that. I mean, to get motivated is one thing, but to compare and to say, hey, I should be in this place. Look at him, look at her.
Right.
That can just wreak havoc on you emotionally.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, if somebody says I don't deal with that, they're a liar. I mean, to some, and that may not make a lot of people happy that I just said that, but I'm even talking about myself. I'm pretty confident in who I am. But there are moments in life where I'm like, I wish I was there. And I see these other people and I'm like, well, you're my age and you have similar background as I do. Why am I not where you are? And again, comparison is a thief of joy. Yeah. We all know that phrase, and it's so true. So in regards to even programming, so say this gentleman, that's a pretty realistic goal for this gentleman. I want to lose 2 inches in my waist. Testosterone levels are great. Movement is great, pretty strong. Then we're like, okay, he wants it in 2 weeks. Well, that's not really realistic. More like a month will be realistic.
Okay.
So my job is to say, yes, these are great goals. Let's try to move it out a little bit, or let's bring it back a little bit. And if we don't meet that goal by then, let's see what we are and adjust accordingly. So I may have a client who is extremely fit and was doing a whole bunch of different exercises from CrossFit to wrestling to occasionally lifting weights and pretty fit, but wasn't really happy with how he looked aesthetically. So what I do is I sit down and be like, okay, well, what is your priority? What is something that you want to focus on? Well, I want to build more muscle. Okay, we can do that. Let's take it realistically. What does that look like to you? And kind of get their feedback and then accordingly adjust on my end with that. So I would even do more bodybuilding if they wanted to build more muscle, which means progressive overload. So that is adding more weight as time goes by, or keeping the weight and adding more reps and just kind of adjusting to see where they're at. And then taking measurements at the end of a month. See, okay, what else can we do? Do we need to adjust your diet? Do we need to add more protein, more carbs, more fats? Do we need to reduce it? Do we need to add more cardio? What are you doing for cardio? So really is it case by case basis to see what that person's goal is. But a 38-year-old guy, I can push pretty hard.
Yeah.
Their mindset is pretty much there. And I find that the men that I have worked with that are around that age, they will do more than less. And so it's a matter of like, hey, track back a little bit so you don't get burnout and you don't reach this part where you're like, I can't do it anymore, or injure yourself. So make sure you're doing warm-ups and cool-downs. Make sure you're adding mobility in there. Make sure you're creating a foundation so you're not going to be hurting even later on down the road where you're like 68, 78. Like, you want to build that good foundation.
That's right. So let me ask you this. So you've got the situation where, like say, the guy this age is probably in decent shape, right? Yeah. The muscle mass loss is not that great at that point. Testosterone's still pretty high. But getting to a gym, you know, I know a lot of young guys, obviously they're going to the gym, but when you have littles, you know, a lot of guys are in that position where if they had, you know, when are they going to go?
Sure.
So if that's the guy, if he finds himself saying, man, I you know, I want to be here for my wife, I want to be here for the kids, how do you get them kind of engaged?
Yeah, so that's when you find their motivation, right? That's when you need to say, okay, what is your goal and what motivates you? Why are you doing this? You need to find your why.
Okay.
And I find that if you don't have a why, you're going to make excuses and things are going to fall in the crack anyway. But if your why is to be, I want to have more energy, I want to be stronger and more attentive for my kids, you're going to make time regardless. If it's an hour in the morning before you have to go to work, then you're going to wake up a little bit earlier and get that done. There's simple things that you can do at home too, even if you just do it body weight. Yeah. There are things that you can do. You can buy pretty cheap weights, or even some gyms will be getting rid of old equipment and they'll do it like way discounted. Sell, and you can build a home gym. I mean, there's different things that you can do, but say you have a gym membership that's pretty low cost. Yeah. And you talk to your partner and find out where can we find free time? Where if I go during this time, then you can go. Like say he has a wife who's really into fitness too. Well, hey, babe, if I go during this time and I come home, would you be willing to like stay with the kids for about an hour, hour and a half while I get my stuff done? And then you can go right after I'm done, and then we'll high five and go. So, I mean, learning how to talk and coordinate with your partner is going to be a huge thing. Yeah. And understanding that your why has to be your number one reason at the forefront of everything, because if you don't have a why, you're not going to do it anyway, and it's going to be an excuse.
So it's very possible if you don't have a gym membership, right? You can still do these things from home. Oh,
absolutely.
We have a mutual friend who has 4 daughters, right? And he has a home gym, and he gets some of the guys go over there and work out with him. You know, I think you know who he is. And I was talking to him just the other day about that, or actually talking with his wife about that, and how much she values the fact that he can be out there in the garage working out, and then if the kids need something or if she needs something, he just takes a break and goes right in. So, but not everyone can have a home gym, but it's worked real well for him.
Well, and it takes time, and I think people want that immediate result, which we all do, and you have to find, what am I going to do in the short term to get to the long term? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? Some people don't like lifting weights. Some people like running. Some people don't like running. They like doing body weight. So, I mean, you have to find what motivates that one particular person and work accordingly with them. Because if I put a gentleman on who loves wrestling and hates swimming, and I put him on for your cardio, you have to do 20 laps in a pool before you go lift, or like he doesn't really care to lift, but he likes like martial arts. Like you gotta have a give and take in there somewhere to be able to adjust it. But again, at the end of the day, this is my personal opinion. If you don't have your why, you're going to make excuses and you're not going to do it anyway. You're going to be like, I'm too tired. I have too much on my plate. If it's important to you, you'll make time for it.
So let me ask you this. You're not a 38-year-old guy, but
I'm going to be a 38-year-old woman.
There you go. So what would be a why for a guy at that point?
A why for a guy? I would say, at least for the men that I've talked to, is I want to look better. Okay. A lot of guys that age, still like around my age, still want to look aesthetically pleasing. And there's nothing wrong with that. No. Another gentleman that I talk to is I don't care to look strong. I just want to be strong.
Okay.
So that's a really good why to measure what you want to do. Like I don't want to look like I can lift a car and not be able to. I don't want the pretty muscles. I want the functional stuff. Yeah. So that helps me with what I'm going to do with him. So
okay, that makes sense. There's one more question before we go on to a 48-year-old. So a 38-year-old with littles at the house, stressed, trying to make things happen. What about food? Because I remember, believe it or not, I remember that time of my life. Yeah. And I have so many guys in my life that I work with who the food is interesting because the kids have certain things. And then, of course, you're raising a family and the cost of organic and the cost of the good stuff. Yeah. You know, there's what do they do there? I mean, you know, address just quickly, you know, the dietary part.
So when it comes to, at least what I found with me, is, again, you have to find what the priorities are. Doing a least amount of processed as possible. Your bodies are going to get the most nutrient dense value out of whole foods. Sure. Everything's processed to a certain extent anyway, but... You're
talking about ultra processed in the box and bags that you find in
and of course, in box and bags, that's what kids like, right?
That's the
problem.
That's
going to be what they go towards. But you can, now that we have some changes that are being made in the overall food industry, there's healthier alternatives in the bags that you can have on hand that are going to work. You just have to find what will work for you and your family and what your priorities are. Like, okay, our priority is that we have 2 sit-down meals together where we slow down, we sit down, and we have a prepared meal together. And one of them can be like on the go, whatever. If it's a snack, it's a snack. Again, I'm assuming just like if they're a married couple or they're a partnered couple, that they come up with a plan together. I found that when you're planning together and it's not just on that one person, it's going to reduce the stress anyway. I bet. When you have kids, hopefully you guys came together as a partner saying, this is what I want to build together. Life gets in the way. People forget why they came together and priorities get messed up. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, when you come together and are on the same page, let's work this as a team, and it's going to evenly distribute that stress of raising little people between the two of you. I found that, I know we talked about this a couple episodes back, but I found that I buy organic when I can, where I can, but my kids are now much older and they eat a lot more because they are in teenhood. And so realizing I'm just going to have to do the best I can with what I have and trust that the Lord's going to bless it and heal our bodies with it. So there, at one point, I kind of have to let go and just realize I'm choosing to buy chicken instead of chicken nuggets. I'm choosing to buy a piece of steak instead of like something fried in a bag. So anything that is microwavable is going to be less optimal than something you're going to take time and slowly prepare. Sure. Taking one day a week and preparing a week's worth of food or even like 3 days of food is going to cut back on stress too. Yeah. To just prepare and have things ready for you, because when you have little people, you're on the go all the time. Yeah. And for me, I forget to eat.
You know, I'm so glad you brought up, doing it with your spouse or your partner. Yeah. Because it does make it so much easier. Yeah. You know, the stress of having littles and, the stress of that point in your life is enough to try to all of a sudden be going different directions or not on the same page. Yeah. Because if you are doing it together, you can actually do the food prep. Yeah. It works. Yeah. But if it's just you or, then there's that conflict. Yeah. And you're not conflicting towards something, you're conflicting with each other.
Yeah. And that's when you realize like we're not fighting for each other, we're fighting at each other. Yeah. And that just creates a bigger mess that is for a whole other topic. But you can even bring your kids into it. If you show them this is a lifestyle that we have, and kids are super curious anyway, so they want to be involved. And if you can get them involved, here, help me prep the overnight oatmeal that we are going to have for the next 3 days. And what kind of toppings do you want on it? And you bring them into the process. You're not just showing them, hey, this can be fun, but you're showing them this is a lifestyle and this is who we are. And you're setting them up for success and making better choices when they get older as well. Like my 5-year-old, he gets mad at me if I don't let him put away groceries. Wow. Or if I don't let him help something because I'm like, it's just easier if I do it myself. He gets mad at me. But it's also showing, and I'm just getting over a a workbook that we're doing with a group of women where it shows me where I'm overfunctioning and I'm removing the ability for somebody else to grow up and become mature
Right.
and grow in their own skills. And so when it comes to even exercise or food, bring people into it.
Sure.
Bring your littles into it and find a way to, and I'm not saying all the time because it drives me nuts. There's some things that I'm just like, just let me do this because sometimes it's for me and I like to do it for me.
Right.
But wherever you can, integrate it into your family, let them
good.
become a part of it, and it will pay off in dividends in the end anyway. So,
Okay. Well, let's move on to a 48-year-old man.
yeah.
Now, this is a 48-year-old guy. He's at the peak of his career. He's doing well, right? Let's say he has a child, a young adult in college, maybe, then maybe a 15-year-old high schooler, and then they have their surprise baby, their 9-year-old or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So he's really building. He's going after it, right? He's busy.
Yeah.
He's active. They're driving the kids around a lot.
Yeah.
His friends are probably, he's got his coworkers, but then he's got a lot of his friends are the dads of his kids' friends.
Yeah.
That kind of scenario. His wife and himself have put on some weight. They're not bad, but they've put on weight.
Yeah.
He's under a lot of stress just on the stress from his job and his career, right? There's a lot of demand on him.
Right.
So he comes in, he's got the money for the gym. That's not a problem. He can afford going to a gym. And with the kids at that age, he can go to the gym.
Yeah.
But he doesn't find himself going as regularly as he could.
Right.
But a lot of times I've seen these guys, even if they go to the gym, they're pretty thick.
Sure.
They're pretty thick because they're just, pounding the weights, trying,
Yeah.
And so what about that guy? How do you address him? How do you get him healthy?
Yeah. So again, all goes back to the intake, and just from what you've told me, it sounds like it's habits that need to be reformed. Because if you're really busy with work, and just remembering me growing up with my family, you tend to do what's easiest, and by the time you get home, you're exhausted anyway because you've already put everything you are into what you have, and then you have all these other things that you have to bring into the mix with your kids and responsibilities. And I think the biggest thing that would help as well is finding your community, because at that age, when you're a little bit younger, you're kind of more independent mavericky anyway. I can do it by myself. I'd rather do it by myself. Yeah. But when you get older, I find that at least the people I've been around, they're looking for camaraderie and community. And I think that if he was able to connect with people, be like, hey, like even his wife, let's go do this together. We have the time and we have the money. I'm assuming he has the time, he has the money. So let's find a time 3 days a week where you and I go and do this together. It builds their relationship. Or if they're not able to do it together, he has a friend that he's able to connect with that will keep him accountable and bring him into that. And that's also when your hormones are going down too, testosterone lowering and everything. So the thing that you could do is lift heavier. That actually helps build your testosterone. Sprinting helps. Which was a brand new thing that I just found out is how well that actually helps with your growth hormone and your testosterone, especially in men. Wow. From I think like 35 to like 48 or something like that. I have to go back and see. But sprinting, doing short bursts of high intensity work, it actually works better for your metabolism in that range from what I've been reading and studying. So
by the way, that is true.
Yeah.
When I was 50, I was training for marathons, half marathons. And I didn't go out and just log miles.
Right.
What I did is I went to the track and I did this thing called shoot the straight. So you kind of jog the curve and then sprint the straight, and then jog the curve and sprint the straight. And I would do that for, miles, right? And then we had a hill behind the house. It was a green belt, so it was this gravel path, and for about a quarter of a mile it went down, a good decline, right? And I'd walk down and then I'd run up.
Yeah.
And I'd sprint up that quarter mile uphill.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to go and run 13 miles to train.
Right.
I was building up just on those sprints. So
right.
I know it works.
Yeah. And so I think we get so stuck in what we knew worked before and realizing that our bodies are changing and things that worked before aren't going to work necessarily now. So being willing to make those adjustments and letting our mind adjust with it, because again, what you were able to do when you were 25, you can't do when you're 35, 45, and so on. So just being able to make those adjustments accordingly will help pay off a massive amount. So unless his goal, and again, finding his goal, what is his why? What does he want and why does he want it? If his goal is bodybuilding, we're going to take a way different approach than we are to just be physically more awake and aware and less tired and more mobile. It's going to be a different approach than, again, I want to go and do Mr. Olympia. It's going to be way different.
So the 38-year-old guy trying to invest in a future him, that's not always, they don't buy into that quite as much.
Sure.
But at 48, I'm telling you, they start thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because they're, you can start having that conversation saying, you're going to be 68, 70 years old one day. What you do now is going to have huge impact on it, right?
Right, yeah. And there are a couple of 38 people that I've talked to. He's like, I'm doing this because I want to be that old grandpa who's like buffing around with my kids. I'm great. You like keep doing what you're doing. You have to stay. Consistency is key. So whatever it is, make sure that you can stay consistent with it and be okay to adjust and give yourself space here and there. But as long as you find something that you enjoy, you're going to engage in it more often anyway. So again, I found that like around 48, I want to look like I did when I was 30, like 20, whatever. That's fine. You're going to have to adjust your diet tremendously. You're going to have to break bad habits of eating at 8 o'clock at night, snacking on whatever.
It's so big.
And I like to do a deeper dive with people that I talk to anyway. I'm not just a personal trainer or nutrition. Like I am also like a life coach. Let's find out why we're doing what we're doing and let's get down to the root and change it and make adjustments accordingly.
Because as you and I both know, because we both do life coaching, is a lot of the bad habits are medicating pain. Right. They're medicating wounds. They're medicating disappointments, all this kind of identity stuff. So
and I find even myself, I'll sit down, I'll be like, okay, what lies am I believing? Why am I doing this? And this is not just stuff I just preach to people. I practice it on myself as well, because I find there'll be times where I'm like, I'm not hitting these goals. Why am I not hitting these goals? Why do I feel this way? Why am I so triggered, whatever? And I'll have to sit down and take an internal, like, what's going on? Where am I at? What are my external things that are happening that could be triggering me internally? And it takes time. Sure. And I think going back and building up that community around you, those people that you can confide in, the people that will say, hey, no, you're better than this. Like, we're supporting you, or let me come along with you. And that's going to make a huge difference in your success in the long run anyway, is your why and your community.
That's good. I love the fact that you brought up community, especially for that 48-year-old guy, because I work with so many men, and a lot of times when you're, late 40s, early 50s, they're at the kind of the top of their earning power, and they've got positions of authority and everything, and they don't have a lot of guys who can come alongside of them and question them, challenge them. They don't have that in their life very much. So to get a community of guys who can ask you the tough questions, who can hold your feet to the fire, we talk about iron sharpening iron. That's what you're really saying, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it will push you leaps and bounds further than you ever could have been before anyway, because what happens is they end up seeing your blind spots. They're blind spots for a reason. You can't see them. So finding those people that will be able to speak that truth and love, that hard thing that you need to hear to get better, is gonna be the biggest treasure that you could ever have, ever. Really, at the end of the day. But you have to be humble and willing to receive that, and see, like, they may not be right, but what can I still learn in the situation of what you're saying? And they
have to be close enough to you to know when you're deceiving yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because your intake form, he can put down anything there, and if he's got that with his close guys in his life, they're like going, you don't do that. Right. You drink way too more than that, whatever it may be.
Well, and that honestly, that will show itself up anyway. I can see, and I take it at face value, but within a month, I'll be immediately able to see if that was right or not, because your body will adjust accordingly to what your goals already are and what your habits already are. If we switch things, your body's going to have to adjust because it's not going to be in the norm. If it's not adjusting, then we have to go back and take a real honest
you're not
assessment.
Changing. You're not switching.
And then that's where my job comes in. Like, hey, where are your pain points? What are you struggling with? Where can I help you? What do you need help with? Because as a coach, I'm here to coach you. I'm not here to hold your hand.
Right.
Like, if you need a little bit of hand holding, that's fine. But I'm not here to just do everything for you. I'm here to give you direction.
Okay, so we're going to move on another decade, right?
Yeah.
So now you got a 58-year-old guy. Mm-hmm. This 58-year-old guy, he's still working, right? Mm-hmm. He's overweight. Mm-hmm. The kids are out of the house, mm-hmm. right? So they're empty nesting. His wife's overweight too. He's found himself, he's gotten very complacent. He might play golf, he might do something like that, but for the most part, he's starting to feel it, Mm-hmm. Starting to feel it. He's real sluggish. He's not sleeping as good. He's getting up in the middle of the night to pee more. The life is catching up to him, right? And he has a unique kind of stress. Mm-hmm. And he's also now kind of looking forward and realizing, oh, snap, it's coming at me.
Yeah.
Old age, quote unquote, is coming at me, even though that we're going to live longer.
Right.
We are living longer, and because of science and medicine, we're going to live longer, right? But it's what kind of life. So that guy investing in his future self and making the changes, this is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you do with that guy?
I find that they're more serious about their why. They're more serious about, let me backtrack a little bit. I found that either like they're going to come and do it, or they're only going to do it because their wife is nagging them to. And so they're going to show up and maybe not give their best or they just won't do it at all. So the ones that are super serious about it, they're willing to do whatever it takes to adjust. Now, that's when you have to look to see, are we dealing with injuries too? Because that's about the age that things are a little bit more difficult to move, and like balance. That's when I would start adding in balance stuff as well. Yeah. Because things are definitely, I don't want to say regressing, but it's more, if you haven't already been building a really good base up until then, it's going to be a little bit more work to build and more consistency to bring that balance of like muscle tone and losing weight and all that stuff. So it'll probably take a little bit more time and a little bit more adjustment. Mm-hmm. It's possible.
Well, let's assume this guy hasn't been working out.
Okay.
Because that's where we run across, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't worked out in a long time.
Okay.
Right?
Sedentary.
He's pretty sedentary. Motion is so important, right? Motion is lotion, but he hasn't even done much of that. How would you initiate him in the process? I know besides just, taking your intake, but how can he get started? What are some safe, productive, simple steps that you can get this guy going on?
Yeah, at that point, I would say, what can we integrate at home to just create more movement in your life? Yeah. Because really, if you're sedentary, you're not moving. So what can we do to create more movement for everyday activity and work up to your creating a greater what's called a NEAT, which is the non-exercise activity during your everyday life. So instead of sitting on the couch while you're watching TV, what if we do some sit-ups? What if we do some bodyweight push-ups? What if we move some body weight into there? Every commercial, get up and walk around your kitchen or do something like that. In the morning, try to get up a little bit earlier and go for a walk as the sun is rising.
That's good.
In the evening after a meal, go and take a walk. Like, add more movement into everyday activity to create that momentum. Because once you start that momentum, it's easier to build on than if you don't. So just seeing what can we create as a better habit as an everyday activity to create that movement and that motion to get you there. Yeah. Can we get you some exercise bands to do some good resistance movements and then add in weights as we go? And so just start off slow and then add progressive overload as we go. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good. I know this guy, right? This is a guy that's right in my wheelhouse. I know this guy. And one of the things that I've seen is this is at the point where you've got to really change your thought life. So, our 5 pillars are thought life, your physical condition, emotional well-being, relationships, and then the things that the lies we believe about ourselves that really war against our identity. This is where you've got to start changing the way you're thinking. Yeah. Because you've compromised in your thought life. Yeah. You've believed lies, or you just don't think it's possible, Right. because that's what my biggest challenge with this age group is to get these guys to start saying, you're going to live longer.
Right.
So it's not adding years to your life,
Right.
but it's adding life to your years.
Right.
And what you're doing right now is going to pay off dividends down the road.
Right.
This is where Peter Attia's book Outlive, he introduces this concept about a decade decathlons, right? In every decade of your life, set some goals what you want. So at age 58, looking down at age 78, what are some of the goals, the decathlon goals that you want to do, right? And we'll talk about that with 68 too, right? And so anyway, so this guy here, it's a lot of it is mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Your mind is the strongest organ in your body. It can your body can withstand more than you think you can. And your mind is what really plays into it. It's like when we're going to failure, when I'm training for bodybuilding and you think, oh, I've met failure, you really probably haven't. And you can absolutely push past that. Now, within a safe compound for somebody who's been training for a longer time, like I have, I know where I can push before getting injured. Right. And sometimes even then I need somebody to be able to help watch my signs.
Right.
But when it comes to mindset with, oh, I'm too old, it's too past my time. A lot of that's personality too. Like when you learn about somebody's personality, what motivates them, how they think, why they think, how they think, how they think, why they think, and learning how to, again, get that motivator factor in there according to their personality, according to how they think, according to what is behind there. So this guy who just wants to lose a little bit of weight, more movement and different diet is gonna be huge.
Yeah.
It's gonna be huge. And even little bit of movement, like I said in the beginning, if you're sedentary, start walking.
Yeah.
Like just get your steps in. Get a little pedometer that you can stick on your belt or a little smartwatch and start recording and start like looking at how much movement I'm creating during the day, and then set a goal like, oh, I only got 3,000 steps today. I want to get 3,500 tomorrow. Like set little goals to where you can work up to like say 10,000 a day in about a month. Like, cause that's possible, but you have to choose how and make it a game.
Yeah.
How can I beat?
It's interesting. Make it a game.
Make it better than before.
So, one of the things that I speak about a lot is men, especially as we get older, need to play again. We need to daydream, right? I mean, we have put aside that boy for so long, and it's right, but there's something real special about daydreaming and wanting to enjoy and play. And as guys are in their 50s and everything, and they've been working all their lives,
right?
I challenge them. I go, what's fun for you? Where do you see yourself, right? In 10 years, what are some of the dreams you'd like to do? We did an episode several weeks ago about bucket lists, and if you're not careful, a bucket list can lead you to regret because you're not accomplishing things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So you have to be balanced with it. But to set these goals like, man, I want to do this. I see myself doing this, Then those little goals, those short-term goals, have a long-term goal tied to it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where it gets very beneficial.
Oh yeah, that's where it becomes a game, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some people are more competitive than others, especially in the fitness world. And you have to find out what motivates you and how can I make this fun? Because once it stops being fun, it becomes work. And then you just end up being really resentful. And then that's when things blow up.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point, then you're like, okay, where did I lose it? Do I need to take a week off and not do anything? Like for me, for my job, like I need to make sure that I'm at least doing a week every 3 months or so where I do what's called a deload and I do minimal as possible. And then there's one time a year where I take a full 2 weeks off and I do absolutely nothing.
Sure.
Which is hard mentally, but that allows my body, because of all the hard work I'm putting it through, to really recover. And I don't get that burnout that I got before. Whereas like if somebody hasn't done it before, set those little goals, get that pedometer, do whatever. Like I lifted 3 weights doing biceps today. I want to be able to lift 5-pound weights in 2 weeks doing biceps. Okay, well then what do we need to do accordingly to get you there? So again, setting those measurable goals and creating a game. If you don't meet those goals, that's fine. Where can we adjust it and then set a new one?
That's right.
Setting new goals is not bad. It's just reassessing and making it realistic.
Yeah, making it so where you're setting yourself up for success and not failure. my journey in health has gone all over the place, from running marathons to getting really bad out of shape to getting back into shape.
Yeah.
And I've put on some weight in the last 6 months just through some stresses and things that's been going on, And so I'm at that point now saying, okay, I want to re-engage myself and up the ante.
Yeah.
And this is good for me because it's helping me say, make it fun again, David.
Yeah.
Because it is easy to find yourself in you find yourself kind of like, man, I'm out of sync. I'm out of character. I'm not in the flow.
Yeah.
Well, what gets you there?
Right. Yeah. I can't sleep through the night. I can't get up without groaning. I can't, like simple things.
Yeah.
And we joke around, like if I'm laying on the floor or whatever, and I'm like, ugh, and I groan to get up.
Yeah.
And go, thanks. This is what happens when you get near my 30s. Like just joking, but we don't realize how powerful our words are.
That's right.
And I'm like, hold on, I shouldn't be doing that. I'm pretty fit and healthy. Like this isn't. Sometimes it checks me, and I can maybe be a little bit too serious with this. I'm like, hold on, I shouldn't even be speaking that over myself because really that's not my goal. And there are people that really are struggling.
Yeah.
And it kind of sobers me up, and that's when I can get a little too serious. But we playfully joke around about that. But there are certain parts in your life where you're like, hold on, I want to be able to get up off my bum without holding on to something.
Yeah.
When
Absolutely.
when I'm 75, I want to be able to sit cross-legged and get up without holding on to anything.
So that'll segue to the 68-year-old guy. So now this is really where thought really comes in. A 68-year-old guy investing in his 80-some-year-old self, his goals might be very simple, and it's not simple, but like I have goals in my 90s where I want to still be able to get on the floor with great grandkids and
absolutely.
get off without someone helping me, get up without someone helping me.
Yep.
I want to be able to go out and walk a brisk mile in my 90s.
Yeah, absolutely.
In my 80s, I want to be able to run at least a mile, nonstop. So there's certain goals that you set out for, but this is where, Stephanie, I find the guys, just be honest with you, with Next Third, Best Third, when I started, I thought that my audience was going to be like late 40s into the 70s.
Right.
And it's not. It's really mid 30s to around 60, 65 maybe. And this guy, the 68-year-old guy, is the one who I'm finding the reason that they're not engaging in Next Third, Best Third and really buying into it is they have really at the point of almost quitting.
Yeah, of course.
It's that get old and die mentality, right? And they're believing things like, I hear this all the time, since I can't exercise because I have arthritis. And I always say, you have arthritis because you don't exercise. Now, I'm no doctor, but
it helps tremendously when you do.
Activity
makes a huge difference.
Weightlifting in your 60s is huge because at this point, right, your body, the muscle mass, you've
bone
lost
density,
so,
not even
bone
muscle
density.
mass. You want to talk about people with arthritis, osteoarthritis. Lifting weights helps put that pressure and that density on your bone to make it more dense. We are losing so much collagen and protein and calcium from your bones. Lifting weights, even doing like high impact walking with like weighted ankle weights or whatever, that creates more density for your bones to create so they don't become brittle and won't just fall apart easily. You have arthritis because there aren't really much movement. Movement brings the blood flow to these places that need that extra blood flow to be able to heal, to be able to move, whatever. And I have family members that have arthritis and did have arthritis, and so I watched it take what it could from them. But I also watched some of them just keep living their everyday life, and they would, like, you can tell they're in pain, but they wouldn't let it stop them. And so what I find is this is where functional movement, you should always be integrating functional movement anyway, but especially like 60 and beyond, this is where resistance and functional movement really comes into play, and mobility, because your mobility is starting to decline. So you want to get up and down, even practicing those movements. So where I find a lot of success also is I will give things for people to do, and the ones that actually keep doing them, even when I'm not around, like at home or whatever, homework, as one may say, they're the ones that are going to be having more success because they're making it an everyday
That's right.
thing. And so when I see that last third, a functional movement is huge. That's getting up, getting down, getting in and out of a car, walking up and down stairs, being able to step off a step without falling. And so just creating a safe place. If I'm helping them one-on-one, creating them a safe place where we can add a little bit of resistance to improve your stability, your balance, your mind-muscle connection, really thinking about what you're doing, and integrating more mobility, making sure that you have that range of movement, and allowing your nervous system to be like, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like when I do this, because that's really what mobility does, is it tells your nervous system, hey, when we move in this range, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Right.
And so adding a lot more, focusing more on that and creating it more functional, so in that way, I can get in and out of bed without feeling pain in the morning. That's a huge thing.
It's so
and
big.
It starts your day off, right? If you're starting off in pain, you're going to walk through the rest of the day just miserable. And that becomes normal to you. So when you don't feel pain anymore, you don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And I've seen that happen before too.
When I hit 60, I made some lifestyle changes. People know my story. I mean, that's when I went through the most devastating time of my life. Yeah. And so I made some lifestyle changes, but some of the things that I do that are tricks, just little things to motivate me. Like I will never use an escalator or an elevator.
Right.
So when I go to the airport, I'm the guy walking up the stairs. I take stairs all the time.
Yep.
Where typically, as you're getting into your late 50s and into your 60s, men and women alike are looking for the shortcut. They're looking for the elevator. I do just the opposite. Another thing that I do is I park far, far away from the front door of a grocery store.
Yep.
I see the older guys trying to get up in the very front.
Yeah.
I park way back and I walk. It's just something I do to push myself, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those are the kind of things that you're talking about, just daily functional activity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you do that it kind of tricks yourself, but it really does make a difference. Well,
it becomes a habit then.
Yeah.
That's just what you're used to. And of course, things happen and you need to give yourself grace for when those things in life happen. And we're talking about optimal things in life right now. We're not talking about the times where life happens and you get sick or you need surgery or whatever. I mean, that stuff happens.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to learn that takes time and give yourself grace to heal. Like I injured my elbow and it took over a year for me to be able to get to where I am now. And it was the hardest year of my life, to be honest, because I want to be able to do what I did before and I wasn't able to.
Right.
And I had to adjust accordingly. And then it really frustrated me when I watched other people be able to do what I did. And I'm like, I want to be there. And you have this mindset of, I want to be there. I should be there now, instead of giving yourself that grace.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that mindset. Okay, what's my why? And what do I need to do to get there? And maybe a little setback, but my comeback is going to be just as great as my setback. Like my setback may look bigger than my comeback, when my comeback's going to be bigger than my setback.
It's interesting. Over the last, since I turned 60, my hip went out of socket one time. I had a ACL injury in my right knee. I had 2 ribs pop out, and tore some of the ligaments. This all has happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And yet it hasn't derailed me.
No.
As a matter of fact, I've just decided that even when I was recovering from my hip and my knee, I was going to go to the gym, and I did. I just changed what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I didn't stop.
Right.
Yeah. And that has made such a difference. Now, as you get older too, and the 68-year-old guy, he's there. Obviously, he's probably a grandfather at this point. Diet. He's. It's funny because as you get older, your diet changes.
Oh, yep.
And a lot of times they're eating less. And yet, if we're really going to get strong and keep our strength up, we've got to be careful to eat less.
Right.
And that's a misnomer. You've got to be real intentional to make sure you get enough protein and things like that.
Yeah, well, your metabolism slows down a little bit, but it can still be maintained with, again, the quality of what you eat. I think, again, nutrient-dense food, making sure you're sitting down and eating is going to make a huge difference anyway. Not just living off of Ensure, milkshake, whatever. And if that's what you need to help in your diet to help you get to where you need to be, then by all means do what you need to do. But I think your body does change, and there are things that you can do to be able to help navigate that. Yeah. But still integrating, if you're keeping a healthy lifestyle of this is how I was eating before, you're going to eat a little less probably, but making sure you're just hitting what you need to give you energy, which you need carbohydrates, you need fat, and you need protein.
Yeah.
So
my diet has gotten so It's funny. I sent a picture of my refrigerator to one of my daughters the other day, and there's 12 things in there. In my fridge, there's 12 things, and in my freezer there was a steak, and then in my pantry there was pistachios, walnuts, dark chocolate, and an energy bar, and that's all I have in my house. But
Was she like, Dad, what are you doing?
that's right. But
Yeah.
like what I do is I eat steak almost every day, or I'll get chicken and I'll do something like, air fry it, that kind of thing. I eat my vegetables, but I choose them and I get them that day and I eat them that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just don't eat crap.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that I see as you're getting older is that's where you really have to look. And it's funny, the other day we had friends of ours hosted this event on Sunday evening, and I went to it, and she had made these unbelievable chocolate chip cookies. I mean, thick, tons of chocolate.
yeah.
They look so good.
Yeah.
And I haven't eaten something like that in a long time. And I looked at it and I said, I'm going for it. And I was so glad
Yeah.
I did, but I almost had the sugar overload because I don't eat that stuff
Right.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is, as you get older, I don't eat a ton, but I don't eat crap.
Right. And that's what's going to help your energy levels anyway.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, if you have the time and you have the means to be able to get what you can for that day, then get what you can for that day and let it be. The biggest downfall I find is that people have crap in their house. And what we do just in general is what's fastest and easiest for me to grab.
Absolutely.
And so again, the prepping of things is going to help tremendously. And just not having crap available for you to just grab and take all the time. So that actually sets you up for success in the long run. It might be more annoying to have to go somewhere and get something, but if you know that's where your downfall is, play to your strengths.
That's right. And it's easier for me. I'm being single at my age.
Yeah.
But again, a 68-year-old who might be married, they can clean out their fridge. They don't have to
absolutely.
have all that stuff in there. Again, you do it together.
Right.
You and your partner make a decision. Hey, we're gonna stop hoarding these groceries, right? And we're gonna shop for what we're gonna eat that day.
Well, and that's hard because when you say you have a bigger family anyway, and that's what you're so used to for a majority of your life, that when you finally don't have the people there all the time, now if you host people, whatever, like that's going to be different, but your everyday life is going to be just the two of you. It's a way different shock, but hopefully by like your 60s, you're already kind of used to it anyway, because it already started fading out in your 50s and late 40s,
right?
Depending on when you start having kids. So that is a slow change that you can start making around those earlier ages, that when you get there, I don't need this much. Or if you want to buy from Costco in bulk, buy the good stuff and freeze them if you have a freezer. That way, if it's too big of a deal for you to go grocery shopping, you can go to your freezer.
Well, if I find steaks or chicken on sale, something like that, I buy a ton of it and I just put it in my freezer.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just that's just always to have it. So
that's
easy.
it makes sense, and especially because you know what you can and cannot handle and what works for you. And again, it really just depends on who you have around you and that person. But for an older gentleman, I would focus more on functional movements, mobility, and just making sure that you're moving and making it. Of course, I do progressive overload. You hear me say that a lot with everybody, but with them, what is that? Does that look like adding more tension in some bands that we use? What does that look like? So,
well, we're going to have to wrap up here. But one other thing that I've learned about aging, right, is your cognitive well-being, right?
Yes.
Your Alzheimer's and those kind of things. Peter Attia did a study again, and that study was what are the most effective things to fight against dementia and Alzheimer's. And number one by far was your VO2, your oxygen max, which means what?
That means like getting your oxygen up to how you can absorb it the best.
Right. And so that takes intentional cardiovascular work.
Right, it does.
Right.
Yeah.
And so any person at any age can up their cardiovascular, but it's especially important for an elderly.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
you're getting into your 60s, because it fights against it. You know what the second thing was?
What's that?
Lifting heavy weights.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, lifting heavy weights. So he says that no matter where you are, let's say you're 68, he says start lifting weights and always end your sets without injuring yourself with as heavy a weight as you can. You
Yeah.
believe that's true?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'll even do that with myself. Because what it does is it ends up challenging your mind muscle connection. I've mentioned that before. And you have to really think about what you're doing so you don't injure yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to not just think about like, how am I holding this weight? How am I making this movement? Where am I placed? Like there's so much that goes into what muscle am I moving? Can I feel that muscle that I'm moving? You're thinking about so many different things while you're making this movement that it doesn't surprise me at all that your neuroplasticity is just being tremendously worked at that point in time. So yeah, that makes complete sense.
Well, this has been great. So kind of just to encapsulate,
Sure.
what are some of the things that 38, 48, 58, and 68 should all be doing?
Oh, movement. Up your your non-exercise activity throughout the day. Walking, playing with your kids, cleaning the house, gardening, whatever it is. Just up your NEAT.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yep.
That's great.
I like
Thanks
it.
so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, guys, if you just do us a big favor, just subscribe. We're upping. We're growing. It's amazing how we've grown. We're into our second year already. I can't believe that. But if you'd like this, if you'd comment, share, subscribe, and we want to get more of this information out to as many people, men and women, right, as we can. So we'll see you next time.